Hello everyone, I'm Professor Toybox, and today I'm here with Rapunzel, who is about to let her hair down and do some flying. We're back in our Propwash Junction toy box, and we're going to show you how to build a path-based air race today. But first I want to show you what I've done to the toy box since last time. So we're going to go ahead and hop in the jet here and take a quick little spin around the toy box. Get my controls back in order. So as you can see, it's grown to be a pretty massive toy box since the last time we were here. Whoa, what just happened? Guess that control stick is not a good one to use. Anyway, this is a really huge toy box now. It's massive, in fact, which is what you need for these planes, which go so fast when you kick in the afterburners and you're flying around. As you can see, we travel from one end of the toy box to the other. So if we didn't make it this big, we'd be going in circles. So essentially, I've got a huge area for flying around in and doing dogfights or creating races or shooting down targets. I was able to create this large an area by not putting too many objects here in the toy box. I used Mickey's Fantastic Farm textures for the farm fields to add interest, which didn't cost me anything in terms of memory. And then I used some trees and things along the edges like you see in real farm fields to be able to separate the fields and add a little bit of visual interest. Also gives you some trees to kind of fly over and around and dodge through and have some fun with. Whoa! So this is a lot of fun to just fly around in, even just solo. But we want to build a race here actually today. Let me go ahead and just kind of land here and whoops, land, there we go, and jump out. I know you're eager to fly, Rapunzel, but hold on, we got a few other things to show people. We go into spark mode here and we can fly up and kind of look at things a little bit. So as I said, we've used the Mickey's texture for the fields, farm fields. I've added some little farmlands, farms here. I even had enough memory to add a ground-based race. So there's a road and you can race around the whole toy box on the ground if you'd prefer. For the mesa, I finished off the edging. As you can see on the sides here, I added some trees. I used the Gravity Falls trees. I like those pines a little better than the default ones in the toy box. And since I owned that power disc, I went ahead and did that. Added some aircraft up here in front of the hangar. And so we're basically ready to start racing. There's a couple of limitations with the path-based air race, but I want to show you how to do this anyway because it's so very easy. The first limitation is because the rings are so small. The jets fly so fast, and it's very hard to hit them, especially with the imprecise controls that you have to use in Disney Infinity to pilot any vehicle. Also, if you make the path too large, it's going to bog down the CPU. And I actually crashed my toy box a few times, making a really huge one in here to play around with in preparation for this video. So we're actually going to make a smaller path-based race, and that's really good for helicopters. They're a little bit easier to control, and you don't have to spread it out over such a big area. A path-based race is very easy to build. You just need a very few controls. We need a challenge maker, so let's lay that down. This is pretty easy. We need a timer. So let's scroll over here and find the timer. Here we go. And we'll put that down. We're going to need a couple of locators for starting positions. So we'll scroll over here and pick those up. And we'll go ahead and start actually in the air above the runway. I'm guessing that's the right orientation. Nope, I'm backwards. So we'll go ahead and flip that back around. And then drop a second one on the other side of the runway. And we're also going to need a spot to be when the race ends. And that's because when the race ends, the challenge maker is actually going to kick us out of our aircraft, which is kind of a goofy thing, but there you go. And then we need the path. But before we actually put the path down, we'll connect up the other tools because the path will slow things down a little bit once we start building that. So first thing, we're going to come into the challenge maker and go into properties. And the results are going to be in time. So how long it takes us to fly the course. And the end location, we'll set that in a moment. Countdown is good. For the challenge type, we're going to go ahead and put this and make this a helicopter only race. And we can select our default vehicle. And we'll go ahead and just use the attack copter. Okay, that looks good. All right, let's go ahead and set the locators. So this locator over here will be for player 1. We'll go ahead and set that as the start location for player 1. The other one will be player 2. And one more for the end location, which is back here. There we go. And then we'll go back into the properties and set that to be our ending spot when the race is over. Use end location on abort, yes. For the end location, we'll use the locator. Okay, that looks good. Okay, now let's set up the timer. For properties, we'll go ahead and set the target time to the max that we can set it, which is 9999. And we are going to not count down, we're going to count up. So what we want to do here is under the new logic connection, when the race starts, we're going to go ahead and start the timer. And when the game is completed, we'll go ahead and pause it. We'll also go ahead and pause the timer if the game fails for any reason. There's no point in keeping that running if that's the case. And lastly, when the game is over, we'll go ahead and reset the timer for the next race if we want to do another one. From the timer side, I don't think there's anything we need here. Nope. Okay, last thing I want to do then is come in here and new time results. When the race is over, we can show the results. Link the time for results. So there we go. That should do it for those controls. Let me just double check my notes here. Okay, we got our two locators. Now we're ready for the path. So we can exit Spark mode. And we'll come down and we'll start the path here in the middle of the runway. Probably about the same height as those locators to start with. And we'll place the first one here. And then we'll go a little further down the runway. And we'll go upward a little bit. Place the next one. And I think we'll basically kind of fly around the airport here. Kind of line up with the taxiway maybe. Go up a little bit further. Gain some altitude. Come around over this way. We'll set another one about over here. I could set this a little bit lower and have them try to fly through those trees. That might be a little crazy, considering I don't know how to fly this thing very well. But that's something you can do if you really want to make something kind of challenging. The other thing is the helicopters are going to move a little bit faster than what we're doing here. So when you think you've traveled a sufficient distance for the next gate, go ahead and go a little bit further. Because more than likely, as you're flying the race, you're going to get there faster than we're getting there right now. We'll fly on around over here and put one on the back side of the mesa. We'll start coming downward a little bit, make things a little more interesting. Come around to the other end of the runway, and this might be a good thing. Fly through between these trees. There we go, that's pretty good. And one more. Maybe we don't need one more. Let's see how it looks without it. Okay, so now we'll go back over to the path tool and we'll close the loop. Path properties. We want this to be looped. That looks pretty good coming through there. We'll go check that in a minute. For the visual point on the checkpoint path, the visual effect on the checkpoint path, excuse me, let's do some green sparkles maybe. And we want the checkpoints along the path to look like challenge rings. So we'll set those to be gold. That should show up pretty well against the background that we've got. We can set this to be 3 laps or just a single lap if we'd like. And I'm not sure I need to set this, but since I'm right here, we'll just go ahead and do that. And there we go. Okay, so there's our path. Let's just kind of take a quick look. Make sure now that we closed the loop that we're not running into anything. That looks pretty good. Okay, so next part, we'll come over here to the challenge maker. New logic connection. On invites accepted, we want to come over to the path tool. Make sure I'm lined up here. There we go. And we are going to start checkpoint path tracking. So as we're flying our plane, it'll start checking to make sure we pass through these points. And also new logic connection when the game is over. We want to make sure we turn that off. So we'll stop checkpoint path tracking. And on the back end of this, new logic connection from the path. When the race is complete by player 1, we'll come back over here and record player 1's completion. And also do the same for player 2. So when the race is complete for player 2, we'll log player 2's completion. And there we go. That should be everything. So as you can see, that was pretty easy to set up. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Since I set the properties in the challenge maker to be helicopter only and specified which one. Oh, wait a minute. Before I do that, before I start the race, let's go ahead and get this plane out of the runway that I left. I don't want to run into that when we're flying. We'll put this back over here where I found it. Got to clean up after yourself, Rapunzel. Okay, there we go. So since the path challenge maker was already set up to be a helicopter only race, I don't have to get into a vehicle first. I can just step on top of it and start the challenge, and it puts us in the helicopter, and away we go. Now the challenge rings, you kind of want to touch the, if you're going to aim towards anything, aim towards that little node at the top. I notice if I'm too low on this thing, I miss the ring, or I just clip the edge of the ring with the helicopter blade, it's not enough to trigger it, so. Whoa. Whoa, and I missed it. Fortunately, I can back up and have another go, and miss it again. Boy, Rapunzel doesn't know how to fly. But she's having fun. Alright, and the next ring over here, coming down a little bit. And the sparks show me where to go. That's why we set that. Whoa! Yay!
I'm so glad I did that.
So now the race is done, and it'll show us the results. There's my time, which is pretty lame. But, oh well, that's okay. And then when we exit, as you'll see, it puts us back on the ground over here. If we didn't specify an end location, it would just dump her out wherever she happened to be and kick her out of the helicopter and she'd fall to the ground. So that's how you make a path-based race. Again, that's good for the helicopter. If you try to race that in a plane, that would not go so well. And I'm not going to show you that because that would be just brutally difficult for not only me to play, but you to watch. So next time we'll try creating a different kind of race. But for now, hope you've enjoyed this little video and the progress we've made. Next time we'll return here to Propwash Junction. And as I said, we'll set up a different kind of race that maybe we can use with the jets. In the meantime, go ahead and subscribe to see the rest of my series. Subscribe to my video channel. You can also visit my blog for build tips, toy box blueprints, logic diagrams for all my challenges and games, and more. And until then, we'll see you next time.